has that fared?
We've had tremendous leadership from this group. We've had it from senior class, from the junior class. Guys are stepping in where and when needed. And it's some of your veterans. You know, you got your Toby Govers, your Reuben Hubbies. Of course, you expect for them to step in as seniors, and they're stepping up. You got Evan Mendenhall coming in from the defensive backfield helping out. But then you got some juniors. You got Gavin Sapal, Everett Campbell. They're really stepping up and leading these guys, and not in a negative way leading-wise.
And that's one of the hardest things. We know we've struggled as a football program the last couple of years, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been a lot of positive. And I think a lot of people sometimes look past that. You may not have won the games, but there's still positive that comes out of those games, isn't there, Coach?
Well, there is, and I'll take last year as an example. You know, last year at one point we had, I think it was 14 sophomores starting. So we took a lot of experience coming out of last year for the guys coming into this year. That was part of just how it happened for us, but that experience has somewhat paid off in dividends because those kids have got that game time as sophomores, where normally they're still playing JV at that point.
Mm-hmm. And the speed of the game is so much different when you go from JV to varsity. And I think people don't realize that. They say, well, it's just one step up. And that one step up, there's a major one step, isn't it?
Well, that one step's like going from a V6 to a V8, and that's for sure. There is definitely a different level of speed there.
And talent.
Yes.
And sometimes just the overall strength of the kids as they become from sophomores and juniors and freshmen and in the seniors. There's so many steps from freshman to the senior. My goodness gracious, 4 years of a weight program is definitely going to change you as a young man.
Well, and that's part of the piece of with our program. I really don't like our freshmen having to go against JV guys, period. I like freshmen to be their own people because they come in as 8th graders, and there's a chance they could be playing 11th graders, and that's a huge gap for those kids. But talking about with our off-season program and how much the growth that you see in those different age levels, you know, I was going through looking at weights, and obviously measurements don't go up very much as far as heights, but when I started looking at weights and knowing the kids and how much effort they've put in to see the difference in the weight gains that they had from previous year, there was obviously some gains there, and we're getting bigger.
In the off-season weight program, do you have something laid out for them, like goals to reach every week or every month or every 2 weeks? Is that set aside for each kid, or do you kind of do that as a team, just try and set certain goals for them to reach?
Well, we do try to. The problem we have is that so many of our kids are involved in other sports as well. So, you know, we go into winter, going through January through March, and we've got a group of kids, and then we hit the spring season, and we get a whole different group of kids that come in. Right. And honestly, our spring season was very decimated as far as weights because so many of them were in spring sports, whether it be track, baseball, whatever it may be, golf. Yep. They were all in those. I think the big part that will help us will be the actual school-time classroom this year going forward, and being able to utilize and get that time as a time for them to get some growth in it too.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the Jamboree when we return on Tiger Talk right after this.
We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and we're here for all of life's wins. Like when you get a new car, or new boat, or new driver, or when your son moves out but your mom moves in, or you find out you're expecting again. Or when one rental property turns into 2, then 20, or you realize they're all in Tornado Alley. Life is full of life events. Make sure you have the right policy for each of life's wins.
A life event could qualify you for a discount. Call me, Willie Strader, your Missouri Farm Bureau insurance agent, and we will make sure you have the coverage you need.
Welcome back to Tiger Talk. Stan Stevens, Coach Neil Myers, Coach Salem Tigers went to Sullivan for the Jamboree. Tell us how the Tigers fared.
We went to the Jamboree. We started off playing against Sullivan. I thought we came out against them. I thought we did really well. I thought we were able to do what we wanted to do offensively when we wanted to. And then we came out defensively against them and held our own. We actually got them on 4 and outs in the Jamboree because nobody punts, so it's 4 downs no matter what. But we got them on 2 4 and outs. They caught us on a deep ball. Ended up basically tying against them for our 12 plays of offense and defense.
Okay.
We then went to Jefferson. Jefferson R7 was our next school. We did the same thing with them, kind of pushed them wherever we wanted to, and then we went down and scored on them as well. And then they turned around and scored, but got it called back on a holding penalty. So that was a good sign. We ended up, if you want to call it a win, that was a win for us. And then we played Cuba to end it, and we moved the ball steadily against them as well and gave up no points. So we actually only gave up 1 touchdown, had 2 INTs, a fumble recovery, and I thought we played really well at the Jamboree.
Were you trying out kids in special positions to see if this is going to work better for them, or maybe a running back or defensive back? This is the time to try those things, isn't it?
It is. I'll tell you one, for example. We used Will Land, stepped in at tailback for us. We saw something from Will that we hadn't seen all preseason, really opened our eyes, got us going. Jevin Blair's another one. We were worried in some aspects with the game with him. He stepped up, really showed us completely different. Got those 2 guys into the loop a lot more now as far as reps. They're getting those reps. But you're right, that's the point. We're trying to see what we can do and put people in positions that we need to be able to see where they can perform.
And you can do it all year long during practice. I mean, from the very first practice on, and you think you have your guys set, and then you get to that Jamboree, and maybe they have to step in a different position. All of a sudden, voila, it's eureka. I found the right spot for this kid. Because sometimes they really do fit in a better place than the one you really have them in. But it may be, Coach, that was the only place you could put them in at that time.
Well, and Will was an example of that. For the longest time, I've had my eyes thought of Will as a strong safety, kind of a defensive backfield type guy. Mm-hmm. And Will stepped in at the linebacker role and really stepped up for us and helped out and showed that he could play that and did a really fantastic job.
Was it good having Hovey back in there? Because, the young man could not play last year due to an injury. I know he loves football, and his effort and his sophomore year before you got here was incredible. So I'm sure he looked forward to that very much.
Well, he did not look forward to the Jamboree. That's where he hurt himself last year, and we had made a combined effort between the both of us as far as talking about it before, and said that we were not going to run him in that Jamboree.
Really?
So we chose not to run Ruben during that. Ruben has been getting reps in practice all along, but there was a mental aspect that we knew that he has not gotten over yet, and that's what we wanted to help try to get over that hump and not put the fear of God back into him going on the field where it happened before.
Well, a lot of times that's true. They just it sinks in, and this is where I got hurt last year. I don't want to get hurt again, and high school football is such a short duration, and to sit out a whole season, you can't get that back.
That's the conversation we have with the boys a lot of times, that you only get really one shot at this. Mm-hmm. And when it's gone is when you realize that it's gone.
And a lot of times that's when the kids, you're talking to them and they're not sure they want to play football or don't want to play football. Say, look, come on out, play the game. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to play. But if you do like it, you're going to get an opportunity that you don't get again. Once you hit 20 years old, you're going to think, man, I wish I'd have played football in high school.
Well, we've had, and going along with that, there was 5 kids that have since came out since season started that played last year for us that chose not to play this year that have came back out to play. So kind of a testament to, one, what they're hearing from the other boys, but then 2, they actually got into the fever of it and realized, hey, I do miss this and want to get back into it.
You played football, Coach. I didn't play football too much in high school. I did play ice hockey. But when that time of the season comes, the itch starts to come in. I don't care if you're 20 or 40 or 60. The itch comes back and you think, I could still do that, But honestly, when you look at these high school kids and the ability that they have and some of the athleticism, that's what is so amazing to me, that I don't ever remember sometimes seeing athletes like I'm seeing today.
No, the athletes have evolved definitely as far as the ages have gone on. And of course, as us as older guys, we sit back there and like to be able to say, yeah, this is how we did it.
Or we did it better.
Yeah, and that's what, of course, we're always going to think that. But, a lot of these kids anymore, the athleticism they show is absolutely sometimes just freakishly ridiculous.
It's incredible. When we come back, we're going to talk about the offensive side of football for the Salem Tigers going into Game 1 against St. James tonight. We'll be back with that in just a moment. Out of town and want to know what's going on in Salem, how the Salem Tigers did, or who may have passed away? There's only one way to get that information quickly, and that's by going to Your World Today online. Go to KSMORadio.com and click on the Your World Today button, and you'll get the latest edition online, or check out the Your World Today archives. And if you are in town, pick one up in any of the 30-plus locations in Salem and Bunker. Your World Today, they're free. Welcome back to Tiger Talk. Stan Stevens, Coach Neil Myers of the Salem Tigers. And, Coach, first game has arrived. We all wait and anticipate it for seems like months and months and months. So here we are. St. James will be our first opponent. We'll be at St. James on the turf. And it's going to be a little bit different look for the Salem Tigers this year on offense.
It will be. We've got some different faces in different places. Last year, I thought we were pretty big up front. This year, I think we're going to look a little bit smaller, but a lot more athletic. That was intentionally meant for that to happen. We wanted to be able to get linemen that could get into defenses a lot quicker, a lot faster, and get in the way. I think it's going to be a little bit different. I think one change that you'll see in there, you've got Hayden Ragsdale that was a tight end for us last year. He's going to be at the helm of the quarterback position, being there. So that might be a change. You're going to see Ruben Hovey back on the field where he wasn't out there last year.
Right.
But definitely some different faces. But I think the tune of it still will be double wing ball coming down at you at 3 yards, cloud of dust. So.
That works. Make it 3.5 yards in a cloud just so we can get that first down. Anyway, well, let's talk a little bit about, obviously, the backfield with Ragsdale quarterback, but how about our running backs?
So right now we got Ruben Hovey and we got Atticus Givens starting at our tailback positions, Toby Gover being at our fullback. Back behind that, you've got Will Land, James Lewis, Andrew Harris, Jevin Blair. We've got a pretty big committee of running backs that can step in and help us win and where we need it, and at any time willing to get them in there.
Very good.
So I think we're going to be looking good there. Quarterback-wise, Ragsdale has a cannon for an arm, and he is more athletic than I think we ever realized until we got him into positions and situations, and I think we'll be able to show some of that off.
I knew he was a big kid, but I really saw it last year when he played baseball, how big he is. And I think he actually got bigger from football to baseball last year, and he was a very impressive-looking young man.
Well,
no doubt about that.
He has got the one thing I will say about him is he's got a cannon for an arm. The biggest thing for Hayden at this point is that he's still, and when I say young, I don't mean age-wise. He's still young in the position,
right.
So there's a lot of it that he's still learning as he goes. And on a daily basis, it's exciting to see him have those aha moments and understand how things are working and why they work that way.
Really realizes what the coaches have been telling him, and it clicks.
Right.
And you love to see that. How about receivers for the Salem Tigers?
Two of our biggest receivers that we've got are going to be Evan Mendenhall and Silas Du Bois. You'll also see them lining up just the way we are formation-wise in that double wing and then also in some of our pass formations. And then, of course, with the double wing, we can't go without saying that you got two of the tight ends. Edgar Campbell, Gavin St-Paul are going to be tight ends that'll be in there. You also will see Max Schlomer every once in a while stepping in, giving maybe one of them a break when need be. All athletic, good hands. Just a matter of getting the ball placed where we need to and moving on.
Sounds good. And how about that offensive line, Coach?
As I was saying earlier, a lot smaller of an offensive line than what we had last year, but I think a lot more athletic and a lot more in tune with each other. All work well together, have done very well, aren't afraid to fire off and hit somebody, and that was something we were missing a little bit last year. Again, as I talked about earlier in the program, my biggest concern for us is how will we respond when that adversity hits and we get smacked in the mouth? Are we going to fire back out and hit somebody, or are we going to let them just keep hitting on us? And I think we'll actually see us firing out and hitting back on somebody rather than just letting them beat up on us.
Well, why don't you go ahead and tell us who those offensive linemen are, if you would.
All right, on a right tackle for us this year, we got Jay Nard starting out for the St. James game here. We've got Ira Barton at the right guard, Grant Case at the center. We got Logan Fleener coming in at left guard. And then we got Charlie Terrell at left tackle for us.
It sounds good. And with these guys, let's just hope that they can come together as a unit like you're talking about, because that's the key to the offensive line. If they work as a unit and they can protect the quarterback or get that hole for those running backs, that's how the whole game runs.
Well, we tell them all the time that, there's no other group that they depend on, but every other group depends on them. And they are the backbone of what we are trying to do.
Unfortunately, they never get the recognition that sometimes the backs do and the quarterback does, but they are a key, fundamental part of the football game, and without a good line, you're not going anywhere.
No, they all know that they're called mushrooms because they're kept in the dark all the time. So.
Very good. When we return, we're going to talk about the Salem Tiger defense and the St. James Tigers when we come back on Tiger Talk right after this.
Every day we share personal information, like when you write a check, apply for a credit card, or even make a call on a cell phone. And the Bank of Salem wants to pass on some tips on how to protect yourself from identity theft. Don't carry around more checks, credit cards, or identification information than you really need in your wallet. Make sure you always safely store those items and other important documents. Plus, you should always choose passwords and PIN numbers that will be tough for someone to figure out. These tips are brought to you by the Bank of Salem, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Welcome back to Tiger Talk. Stan Stevens and Coach Neil Myers, coach of Salem Tiger defense. Tell us a little bit about the Tiger defense. Last year, we know the defense was on the field a lot. You know, this year we don't want them on the field as much, but there's still quality guys that have to play up to the potential that you expect them to get the results you want.
No, and you hit it. Last year we were on the field way too much. I'd say we were probably on the field at least 80% of the games that we were in. And kind of a testament to our defense even last year. I thought our defense at times played really well. Mm-hmm. They just got tired. And when you get tired and you're out there 80% of the time, that's going to happen. You're going to end up breaking. But this year we've got we started out last year. Let me step back. We started out last year in that 4-2-5, went to the 5-2, and really started sticking with that. That was kind of a multiple piece defense for us, so it was something the kids already knew.
Right.
And we've chosen to stick with that 5-2 monster, and that's what we're going to run and roll into this year. Obviously, a lot of experience coming out of that group, a lot more so last year.
Right.
So we do have some areas where we are.
All right, Coach, tell us a little bit about that defensive line.
So, this year on the defensive line, we've got Jaden Nard and Toby Gover sitting in at the defensive tackle spots. And then at the nose, we've got Casey Malone. And a little bit different than most. A lot of people like to run a bigger defensive line nose guard. Our guys are a little bit quicker. They're going to be getting in gaps, causing chaos and havoc. Outside of them, what we call defensive ends, I look at them as outside linebackers because they're standing up. But that's Gavin Sapal and Everett Campbell. That'll be holding off the anchors there at the ends for us. So,
how about those linebackers?
Linebacker-wise, we've got Ira Parton and Braxton Howdershell. I always say it with an R. I'm sorry.
That's your Arkansas accent.
That's coming out a little bit. But we've got them starting for us tonight against St. James. We'll see Colby Grundon, who's done a great job for us. Unfortunately, he's been battling an illness, and that's been one of the things that's kind of holding him back right now. But we'll see a committee of those three. Obviously, Ruben Hovey will get maybe a couple looks here and there, see how he's feeling during that game. And then in the defensive backfield, you've got Evan Mendenhall returning. Evan's been a staple for us for a while now. He's back there. He's really the brains of that backfield for us, and he's doing it from a cornerback slot. And then you've got Max Schlomer and Silas Du Bois taking over the free safety and the cornerback, or the other cornerback for us as well. And then you got Evan Mendenhall. If you want to say old trusty, I mean, he's out there whistling plays left and right and getting them going, and that's part of what he does. He's kind of the hidden captain in the back of the defensive backfield because Evan's really a smart player.
I was going to say, I remember last year, he was a motivator. He really was. He got out there and he'd get the kids motivated, get going, and you had to give him a lot of credit, because as tough a year as it was, he didn't stop, and when you got a guy like that, perpetual motion, it picks up the rest of the team.
Well, and I think that that team atmosphere has really fed over. Evan has really, I think, stood out a lot on the defensive side, a lot more this year too. He's diving in there, getting his head. He had a concussion last year. Of course, you're concerned with how he responds with that being last year. This year, he's getting in there, hitting low, getting his head into the hits where he needs to be, covering like he always has done. But then on the other side, you've got Silas Du Bois, who's athletic as all get out, and he's still a young sophomore. But I think his athleticism is going to give him more of an edge benefit than his age will. At free safety, we've got Max Schlomer, another sophomore that's standing in there. Two athletic, smart-playing kids that are able to step in as sophomores. And as you know, with a good program, you really don't want to have to rely on sophomores as much. You'd like to be junior, senior heavy. But when you've got two sophomores that are able to step in and play, you've got to put the best player out there.
That's exactly right. So who's going to be your kicker this year?
That is a kicker.
By committee?
By committee. So we actually have a senior Briar Bobbitt that came out this year.
Okay.
I think he's got a size 17 shoe. I figured, heck with that. That's like hitting with a big old hockey stick. He could do that with it. But he's been kicking, and then Will Land has been kicking as well for us. So I think there's going to be some shared duties in there, whether it be kickoffs, extra points, and punts. I think they'll split those up evenly.
So we just never know.
It may not be. I mean, we're still at that point as of right now, where we're going through and finding out who the best player to put there and who's going to benefit us the best.
All right, very good. So that's the defense for the Salem Tigers. We play St. James tonight. Let's talk a little bit about St. James. Did you guys get a chance to see them at Sullivan? Were they up there for the Jamboree?
We did, and as any time you go to a Jamboree, I think a lot of people are vanilla. So you get to see what you get to see. The one thing we knew, they had that Carter Wilfong kid back, number 44, big muscular, athletic phenom type kid. He's going to pound and ground on you and that would try to wear you out. But then they've got number 31, Noakes, who was a kid we saw last year. He's going to be your sideline to sideline. He likes to get outside. He likes to make the defense run a little bit. So for us, we've got to control him and keep him contained. And then when Wilfong's in the game, we've got to hit him low. Right. There's no tackling him up high. Their quarterback is number 4. Kid that played running back for him, if I'm not mistaken, last year. So he's a shiftier type of quarterback. I don't think he is a passer like Harlan was for them last year, but I think that he can make plays in other ways that Harlan couldn't make plays. So I think it's a good compliment. I would probably say from what I've heard and what I've seen, I think probably the best backfield that St. James has probably had. I think they're a little bit lighter up front than what we've seen in the past. Okay. So they got some trade-offs there. But they're going to come out and they're going to hit you. Dusty does a great job coaching those guys, has a great staff. They're going to come out, they're going to line up, they're going to play sound quality football, they're going to hit you, and they're not going to give up. It's going to be a good game.
What kind of defense did you see from St. James up at the Jamboree?
At the Jamboree, we saw a 3-3 stack, which is what we saw first game of the year last year.
Right.
This year was a little bit different. They ran a 3-3 almost like a laid-back stack. It was a little bit different, not something I'd seen. They didn't bring the outside edges up as much. So I don't know if that was an intentional, if that was, again, with Jamboree, you never know. It's kind of smoke and mirrors.
Sure.
But knowing that we saw the 3-3 to begin with last year, and then in the last game we saw the 4-3, we've been preparing for both, just getting ready for what may come our way.
Okay, very good. Well, Coach, we wish you the very best of luck. Opening game of football for the high school season. It's always a big time. It's Labor Day weekend. It's holiday weekend. Should be a big crowd in St. James. We wish you the very best.
I appreciate that, Stan. Thank you.
Stay tuned. Tiger football is coming up next.
You've been listening to Tiger Talk on KSMO Media with Stan Stevens and head football coach Neil Myers. Stay with us for Salem Tiger football. It's next on KSMO Media.
Right now at Napa Auto Parts Store in Salem on Highway 3272 East, get Napa Premium Performance Automatic Transmission Fluid starting at $4.29 for the 1-quart size. Napa Performer as low as $21.99, and a Schumacher manual wheel charger is priced at only $157.99. Stop by Napa Auto Parts Store, 604 East Scenic Boulevard in Salem today for these great September savings. Stop by Napa Auto Parts Store right here in Salem. Have you seen Town Screen yet? It's one of the most affordable ways to get your message out in the community. With strategically placed vertical screens in numerous locations in Salem, check it out at the American Legion Post number 99, Looking Glass Salon, Salem Senior Center, and McCoy Vision Clinic, just to name a few. Find out more about how you can use Town Screen for everything local. Stop by 800 South Main or call 636-338-1199. Hometown created and maintained, Town Screen in Salem.
Well, it's